Welcome again to the Was This Atlantis presentation. Wow, good morning. It's Saturday, 2 days after Thanksgiving. Is it the 26th? No, it's the 25th. So we got a few things to talk about, and this is the first one. Here's the Ziggy Dan, Ancient Stonemason Mysteries channel, and Ziggy Dan is the Nub Master. Check him out on Twitter. And I saw this video at least a year ago, but it took some time for us to realize we were on the same page with this stuff. Now, this is a presentation that I did before I even realized back in like 2018, 2017. We were doing this stuff in Taipei, and I started to get interested in Brian Forrester. Now, this is not a flat Earth map. This is an equal azimuthal projection, which means that both poles are shown in the map. Of course, there's an emphasis on the northern pole. It shows, I mean, the first time I saw this, and this was way back, like 2017, 2016 maybe. We can find the video on my channel where I started talking about this. And I was working at a university in Taoyuan County in Taipei. And I started to ask myself the question, who's doing the international trade first on this planet? You know, I was teaching international trade. And so I thought, could that be our ancient Equator? And I think a lot of people, when they saw something like this, they knew. We've got this ring here, and all you have to do is, by the way, this ring shows the different monuments along this line that could suggest that some pre-axial equator existed. And when you see the ring shifted over on top of our modern day equator, it's almost perfect. Now that would mean that this little dot in Alaska here would be the previous North Pole. And when I say previous, I mean one of the previous, okay? I'm not trying to say this was just a one-time thing. But one thing that you don't see on this is that it is also showing the Richat structure right about here. And that's what I was making a point here. There's a guy on my comments named Lex Reinstein. Now, I'm not sure if it's the same person on my Twitter with a different name, so I'm just going to say it like it's separate. Lex Reinstein left a comment on my channel here, and it's right there. It says the other eye of Africa. So I immediately went out there and checked this out. So this is the other eye of Africa that's been recently brought to my attention. Now, I've been all over this place. I've always talked about this fish right here, this little fish right there. It's in Mali. You can go there and you can start to look at these 1,000 feet tall sand dunes and start to see these lines underneath them. Now, you'd say, oh, that's a natural jointing of the dried up desert. Look again, because there's a whole bunch of, near the fish, you can see this little structure that's right on the line here. And there's a lot of them. I want to show you in my Was This Atlantis page some of these things that you can find under the desert. I mean, just a little bit too perfect. And by the way, that jointing thing, it doesn't lift up and create a wall like that. It separates and creates a little tiny ridge. So these lines throughout the desert, I just want to go through this. These are interesting because the mountains that are on top of them, and I don't think they're mountains, but they are on top of these ridges. So which came first? Well, you can see this is like a wall or something. There's all sorts of these here. Go over to the Was This Atlantis page. Here's a crater that I found kind of in the middle of Niger that I thought was kind of interesting. I think that's a crater. I don't know. I didn't say for sure. So this is like my first experience, these desert, and you can go out and you can get the links on the page. You can kind of see all sorts of activity that's going on, and the link's right there, so you can go and visit it yourself and check it out for yourself. There's of course a geological explanation, mainstream, I guess similar to jointing, natural cracks. These aren't cracks. These are ridges. These are walls out in the middle of the Sahara. Some of them look quite natural. I agree, but the fact that they angle off and joint, and butt up instead of, continuing. There's a lot of stuff here you can see for yourself. When you go and look at this structure that we just found, now this is 2 miles wide from here to here. I happen to have measured it already, and I see here that it's actually got some kind of fissures going through it, or maybe some type of intelligently created canals, because it cuts right in the center of this and then turns. What kind of a natural fissure would just stop and turn right at the center of what appears, and I think this is not a crater. Let's talk about that. It's 2 miles wide. 2 kilometer wide craters don't get a center island like the Tenamore crater or some of the other ones in this area. Now, this is not the only thing. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on here. You can follow this canal out, and you can see that it stays double wide. It looks like it's embedded in the earth, double wide, like some type of a water canal. Okay, we already know that the Tamanrasset River is right up above it somewhere, right? So that blue line represents the Tamanrasset, where it was, where it will be again. This little thing represents a canal that I found. There's another one right there. So we've got all sorts of stuff. But the fact that this thing, now I made a connection line right here, so you can see that at the end of it. But what you don't realize is that this line goes all the way pretty much across this same ancient equator. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But then again, as you could see in Ziggy Dan's video, the coordinates are a little bit different. So the other day on my Twitter, I reposted something from this guy named John Edward Ellinger. But I would like to clarify, it says inspired by YouTube Stig and Bright Insight interview, but I found this live. I mean, I found it and then I got live, and I didn't even know it pointed at the mouth of the Richat structure until I actually got on my live stream and did it. It goes through this mouth. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. First of all, so there was a second projection. You can even see here, I have these two lines, but I kind of thought it was just two-way traffic. This gentleman actually has it kind of going at a different angle, and what he was waiting for me to respond to him, so this is my response. When you get over here, it's not pointing at the mouth anymore. You're pointing at this oasis, and there are some canals. Sorry, I shouldn't really say canal. Now, this structure here, this wall right here, there's actually a river going along the side of it. That's when I say river, I mean dry riverbed. But you see something going on here. The mouth kind of comes at a curve. You can kind of see the topography, and a lot of that is sand. But if there was an ancient sea here, this wall probably held that water in place somehow. And you can kind of see these only cut-throughs are here and maybe here. So that was my point about that separate axis. Now, it's interesting. I just realized that maybe this isn't really a cut-through or a canal. Maybe this is the old side of the Adrar Plateau. There's just sand covering it. So this is really the only passage. You have to ask yourself, no matter how you believe the Richat structure was created, why is the mouth there naturally? It doesn't make sense. Now you can see this is really where the cliff goes. So we're talking about this area right here. How did that get created? Now, does that canal go right through there? I think it would have to go around that line there. So maybe that's where it went through. Or maybe this was a big sea and they just floated over a little bit and didn't have to worry about alignment at all. Let's take one more look at my 50-mile long canal through the 2,000 feet high Adrar Plateau. There's a lot of other little canals going on here. There's a lot of studying to be done. But one of these things that this gentleman, John, also did point out was he found it going the other way. And that is interesting. And you can kind of see this line up over here. So that blue line is more of a dry riverbed, but could it not still have been part of the system? And then you've got what he pointed out and a couple of other things that I demarcated for starting here with that one. I know that's not a big deal, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, getting over here, you've got this big open area connected to what seems to be here, maybe another line. And you can kind of see that line right here. Why would that line be there? And then here, you've got this little cut through. So I do have to at least thank John for reminding me, pointing that out. I had seen these, but I already realized this is going towards the Senegal River right there. That's the Senegal River. It's not going directly to the towards Nouakchott, which I do believe there was another river coming out right over here. That little cut through probably went directly to Nouakchott. He was kind enough to provide a link. Let's take a quick look at that. This is his work here, so we might as well point it out because in a way his link kind of shows that there's those cut throughs that he demarcated there, and he's kind of putting it through, and it goes right through the mouth. So it's kind of like the same alignment there. But then I don't know what this line, I have to study it myself because I just got this from him, and there's certain things I didn't look at yet. But we can just say that this whole area is amazing. As you can see, there's a lot of markings for quarries that he put on here. Well, I've got a new quarry for you. And yeah, over here, these quarries, he seems like there's a quarry here. I'm not sure if that's what he's saying. I definitely agree with the looking at these cuts and thinking that there's some type of work. Don't want to get into that right now, but what I can say is that he actually helped me find this new quarry. And this was right next to those lines. So this was incredible that it's actually right there. And it's out in the middle of right there by the line he just showed. Let me just turn this around. Right here? Oh, it's over here. So that quarry line coming from the Richat through this Adrar Plateau, coming out here and heading right over here. It's right next to the quarry. Actually, that's over here. And if you take a look, you think, oh no, that's just wisping sand and desert. No, those are lines made by humans. Or I should say those are lines made by ancient miners. Not really sure. I'm talking about the walkways. Those are all straight going through this little area, which, you know, it could be a natural outcrop, but then you have the quarrying activity, whether or not it's a natural outcrop or they dug for it or who knows what they were doing and why they were doing it. And I am out of here. I think we talked about the 3 things I wanted to talk about, so I'm gone. Have a great rest of your Thanksgiving holiday.